My name is Aria Vale, and I'm 28 years old. There's a certain light that only shows up when your life is about to split down the middle. In Seth's hallway, it was the cold blue of a laptop screen spilling under his bedroom door, edges sharp, voices hazy with laughter. I'd come by to drop off the last touches for his birthday surprise. A velvet box, a folded card, a string of warm bulbs he'd pointed at on Instagram and said, that exact glow. He'd given me a key months ago. "You're home too," he'd told me, kissing my forehead like he meant it. The door was half closed. I lifted my hand to knock and froze at my own voice, thin and tinny through laptop speakers. "Hey, love. Flights are delayed, but I wanted to send this so you remember you're my favorite corner of any day." I'd recorded it in a dim airport lounge last winter, hair messy, eyes tired, heart honest. Inside the room came a chorus of snorts. "Play the Valentine's one again," Jaden said. "I need the secondhand embarrassment." Penn cackled. "Tell me she does the forever line." Reese, "She always does. Watch, it kills me every time." My face emptied of heat. I stared at the floorboards as if they could anchor me. Seth's voice, Seth's I know how to own a room voice, lilted. "Guys, you're not ready for the folder name. Wait." A click, then delighted laughter. Cringe Chronicles, curated, baby. They howled. One of them mimed wiping tears. "You're evil, man." "Nah," Seth said, amiable, smug. "She thinks I replay them because they're sweet." I told her it keeps me going through long days. A pause. "It keeps you going." "Okay," Jaden said, "but when are you ending this? She's about to blow $3,000 on your birthday dinner." "After Saturday," Seth replied, casual as a shrug. "Let me get the rooftop out of it. Then I'm done. I've been talking to Thea from the Pilates studio. Real chemistry. Aria's safe. And she's useful." Silence is supposed to deaden sound, but everything got sharper. The whir of the AC, a street bike groaning past, the slow crack in my chest, demanding to be named. Useful. I thought of the ring tucked in my tote, a family heirloom I'd asked my mother's permission to use. I thought of menus and seating charts, of telling the restaurant to hide a bouquet in the service hallway so I could surprise him. I thought of which dress would make him feel seen. Now I thought about the ocean at the edge of the rooftop and how the night air could carry a voice for miles. "Babe," Seth called. He'd stepped into the hall at some point. I'd taken a step back without knowing it. He blinked, like he'd seen a ghost, and then brightened into the version of himself the world loved. "You're early." I smiled. "You're safe. You're useful." The words were a ring of cold metal around my throat. Wanted to make sure Saturday's perfect. Behind him, Jaden's grin deflated. He darted out of sight. Penn and Reese suddenly remembered their phones. Seth didn't turn around. He reached for the bag in my hand. "You're too good to me," he said, and kissed me like he wished we were alone. I let him take the bag. Let him think the performance was working. Then I touched his chest lightly, a cue I'd used 100 times when I wanted to leave him wanting more. "I have a few calls to make," I said. "You'll be there at 7? "Wouldn't miss it," he winked. "Wear the green dress." I walked to my car on legs that felt like they belonged to some other woman. A woman who'd just learned there's a version of love that feeds on you until you're hollow enough to echo. The key in my palm had teeth. My phone, when I lifted it, weighed more than it should. First call. Kieran Hale. 4 years since we'd dated, 2 since we'd become grown-ups about it. He answered on the second ring, voice warm, steady. "Aria?" "This is going to sound insane," I said, and told him everything. The folder, the chorus, the plan forming like a storm line over water. "I don't want revenge," I added, surprising myself with the truth of it. "I want context. I want him to see himself, and I want witnesses when he does." He exhaled. "You want me there. If you're willing, I might need you to play a part." A pause long enough to fear I'd gone too far. Then, "He hurt you. I'll show up. Just tell me what to wear." Second call, Marcus. "Different kind of shoot," I said. "Documentary rules. No matter what happens, keep filming." He whistled. "Spicy. I'm in." Third, Patricia. "Just confirming Saturday," I said, keeping my voice bright. "Could you bring your camera? I want everything captured." "Of course, dear," she said, tender and oblivious. "Seth is lucky." Lucky. The word snagged like a thorn. Fourth, Margot. She hadn't liked the way Seth basked when I dimmed myself to make space for him. "Aria," she said low after I finished. I'll be there, and my phone will be charged. That night, Seth texted a selfie from his bed. Can you send one of your sweet videos? Long day. Need your voice. I pictured Jaden and Penn and Reese, felt the heat in my face, that old reflex to soothe, to rescue. I stared at the camera, hit record, and said exactly what he needed to hear to keep the mask on until Saturday. When I hit send, I sat in the dark for a long time, listening to my breath. Out the window, the city hummed like a waiting thing. In the morning, a DM blinked open from Thea. Heard there's a party tomorrow. Rooftops are my vibe. I typed back, the more, the merrier. Then I set my phone down, went to my closet, and found the green dress, silk that remembered my shape, and a neckline that made men confess and women warn each other. I laid it across the bed next to the ring I would not be giving Seth. Context, I told myself, is a scalpel. The right hands make a clean cut. Saturday would be surgical, and I would be steady. I woke before my alarm to the throb of a thought that wouldn't let me sleep. Keep the surface smooth so the depth has somewhere to fall. The day before the rooftop, I moved through tasks like I was tracing a chalk outline someone else had drawn. I confirmed the menu, sea bass for him, mushroom risotto for me, approved the floral arrangement he'd once circled on Pinterest, soft neutrals, nothing loud, and texted the maitre d' the timing of the cake. From the outside, I was the girlfriend who loved logistics. Inside, I was a metronome counting down to 0. At 10 a.m., Seth called. He always called when parking garages confused him, or when he needed a quick hit of devotion to carry him through a meeting. Babe, long day already, he said, and twisted a laugh. Send me something sweet? There was a time I would have performed love like a song I knew by heart. Now I pressed the phone to my cheek and gave him what he wanted because it bought me hours. Close your eyes, I said softly. Remember the rooftop where you said life feels bigger above street level? That's tomorrow. You deserve a day that opens. I'll make sure it does. He made a pleased sound, the cat that thinks the door opens for him alone. Knew I picked the right girl, he said. Wear the green. Of course. I let him hang up first, then stood in my kitchen, palms flat on the cool counter, and breathed until my chest loosened. Kieran arrived at the cafe exactly on time, as if steadiness were a kind of apology for every person who didn't have it. Gray t-shirt, clean lines, a look that said he understood the assignment without needing to be dramatic about it. When he spotted me, his face changed the way true friends' faces do, like they're relieved the world has retained at least one constant. Okay, he said as we sat. Walk me through the choreography. It's theater, I said. I need an audience and an act that reveals the truth without me screaming it. I slid him a short list. Names, their angles, who'd sit where. There's going to be a moment when I pivot. That's you. I'm going to ask you a question that sounds like a proposal. You'll say yes. And then, right after Seth blows, the truth comes out. No romance, no reunion. We cut the wire and step back. Kieran read the list, then the quiet in his eyes sharpened. He recorded you? Worse, I said. He curated me. He set the paper down carefully, as if it might bruise. I can do this. Thank you. It wasn't enough, but language rarely is. We rehearsed the bare bones, where he'd stand, how I'd turn my body so the room could see my face. He didn't ask for a script. Just talk like you would if you loved someone who respected you, I said. Which you did, which we did, once. He smiled, something rueful threading through it. I remember. Across town, Marcus texted, ran a tech check with the venue. Light as A+. Where do you want me? Obvious or ghost? Ghost, I typed. Documentary rules. No interventions. Copy. Spare batteries packed. See you at golden hour. By noon, Margot had responded to my "you in" with an absolutely and a follow-up. If he tries to spin this as boys being boys, I'll break the spin with receipts. She sent screenshots, messages where Seth tested jokes about needy girlfriends in their family group chat, a voice note where he called emotional intimacy PR. I didn't need more ammunition, but it steadied me to know I wasn't the only witness. At 2, Patricia left me a voicemail, velvet with affection. We're so excited, dear. Seth hasn't stopped smiling all week. He keeps saying you make everything beautiful. Don't work too hard tonight. Beauty doesn't like to be chased. I stared at the transcribed words until they blurred. There are mothers who make their sons kings. There are kings who never learn the cost of a crown. By 3, I sat at my dining table with a legal pad and the ring box I wasn't giving. The speech took shape as a doorway, warm framing, than the edge of something sharp when you step through. Draft Speech Version 3. Gratitude for the people who taught me what love looks like when it's tired and still shows up. A memory of Seth. I can mean without lying. The night he waited in a hospital parking lot when my sister had a scare, how he brought me fries and let me eat in silence. The pivot. Some of you think love is what we film. Some of you think love is what we laugh at later. I used to think love was the story we pose for. It's not. It's the uncut footage. The ask to Kieran. The reveal. I practiced the first 2 minutes until the words landed like they belonged to me. Then I set the paper aside and opened my closet. The green dress hung like a question I'd already answered. I laid it across the chair and slid the ring box into my purse anyway, its weight a reminder that I could change my mind at any point, that there is power in choosing not to destroy when you've been given every reason to. At 4, Thea sent a video from an elevator mirror. Ponytail, Pilates glow, the kind of casual that takes an hour. See you tomorrow, Queen. Rooftops are my religion. A tiny wave, a bite of lip, a wink at herself. It would have been funny if it weren't so on the nose. Can't wait to meet you, I replied. Bring a jacket. Wind gets sharp after 8. At 5, Seth forwarded me a screenshot of the guest list he'd asked me to compile. Make sure to seat Jade, Penn, / Reese near the front, he wrote. They hype energy. I thought of their laughter in his bedroom, of Jaden's second-hand embarrassment, of Penn's glee. I moved them to a table just off-center, close enough to see, far enough to be seen, seeing. If you're going to build a theater, give the chorus a perfect view of themselves. By 7, the skyline pressed its forearm against the windows and the city exhaled into Friday. I lit a candle, poured water, opened my phone to find Seth's message. Tomorrow changes everything. He'd added a firework emoji, a champagne bottle, a ring. I didn't reply. Instead, I scrolled to a folder I'd kept for years. Good things I forget in bad moments, and let it play. The tiny video of my niece naming colors, my mother teaching me to hem a seam, Kieran laughing so hard coffee shot out his nose on a road trip to Santa Cruz, me in a dim airport lounge, telling someone I loved him because I did. The point wasn't to punish myself. It was to remember the scale of what deserved reverence. When the candle tunneled low, I drafted a final text to Marcus. If anything goes truly unsafe, you stop. Otherwise, you keep filming. We don't push. We just reveal. Documentary rules, he sent back. I'm your lens, not your judge. I showered, blow-dried, and pinned my hair the way Seth liked. Loose, face-framed. Then I adjusted a single strand until the woman in the mirror looked like she could hold a scalpel without shaking. She did. She could. At midnight, the city softened. I placed the speech in my bag, set the green dress on a hanger by the door, and turned off the lights. In the dark, I pictured the rooftop, the string lights he loved, the hush right before every gathered breath becomes an evening. From the other room, my phone vibrated once. Margot again. I'll sit by your left. If you need a hand, squeeze your napkin twice. That's our cue. I smiled into the dark. Cue, I whispered. The word tasted like permission. Tomorrow I would open a door and let the room walk through. What they did on the other side would say more about them than me. I fell asleep with my palms open, as if to prove to myself I didn't need to hold anything I was ready to release. There's a moment before any performance where the air itself seems to hold its breath. The elevator doors opened to the rooftop, and the city stretched beneath like an audience waiting for a cue. String lights blinked to life against the lavender dusk. A string quartet tuned in soft, nervous swells. The maitre d' smiled. Ms. Vale, everything's ready. Perfect, I said, though nothing about this was perfect anymore, except my control. Guests began to arrive in a shimmer of perfume and laughter. Patricia in pastel silk, proud and oblivious. Margot with her phone in her hand, eyes flicking toward me in wordless solidarity. Jaden, Penn, and Reese trailed in next, clinking glasses already, their smiles too bright for people who'd spent weeks laughing at someone else's heart. Where's the birthday boy? Penn asked, eyes scanning. On his way, I said, and let the pause linger. A beat later, Seth arrived, charcoal suit, that same main character stride that made people step aside. He kissed my cheek, loud enough for cameras. Everything looks amazing, babe. You outdid yourself. Wait till you see what comes next, I said. His friends set up their phones. Of course they did. This was content. They were ready for another highlight reel, never imagining they were the punchline. Dinner flowed on autopilot, shrimp skewers, polite chatter, the hum of expectation. Seth held court at the center, spinning stories about his job, his plans, his creative project. He was a man auditioning for applause. Across the table, Thea had arrived, all bronze shoulders and breezy smiles. When she caught my eye, she lifted her glass in salute. "Rooftops are my religion," she'd said. Amen. I waited until plates were cleared, until the light softened into cinematic gold. Then I stood. If I can have everyone's attention. Phones lifted instantly. Even the quartet paused. Seth's grin widened, anticipation glimmering. "Oh, here we go. I told you she's a speech girl." I smiled like the woman he thought I was. 3 years ago, I met someone who changed my life. Someone who made me believe love was supposed to sound like laughter. A murmur rippled through the tables. I caught Marcus's subtle nod from the corner, camera on. Seth leaned back, smug. "That's me," he whispered to Thea, just loud enough for others to hear. "But then," I continued, voice steady, "I learned that laughter can sound different depending on where you're standing. Sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's cruelty disguised as charm." The first thread of confusion wove through the crowd. Seth straightened. "I planned tonight to celebrate love," I said. "But what we celebrate says who we are, so I want to honor the kind of love that doesn't humiliate, doesn't perform, doesn't collect someone's affection like trophies in a folder called..." I turned my gaze on him. Cringe Chronicles. Silence cracked like glass. Seth blinked. "What are you talking about?" "Your folder," I said quietly. "The one with my videos. The one you played for Jaden, Penn, and Reese last week. The one you've been building for years." Jaden froze mid-record. Reese dropped her fork. Patricia's lips parted. "That's ridiculous," Seth said, laughing a beat too loud. "She's joking, right?" I didn't answer. Instead, I turned toward the crowd. "You all came expecting a proposal." My hand trembled, but only once at my side. "And you'll get one, just not the one he thinks." Kieran rose from his seat near the back. Calm, composed, exactly as rehearsed. The sunset caught the edge of his jaw, made him look like he'd walked out of a truth I could still believe in. I stepped toward him, every eye following. "Kieran Hale," I said, "you once told me, love isn't what survives the good days. It's what stays honest on the bad ones. Thank you for showing me what real respect looks like." The crowd gasped. Seth's chair scraped backward. "Are you insane?" he barked. Kieran met my eyes, understood the cue, and smiled. "Always thought you deserved better," he said simply, and knelt. The room erupted in murmurs, cameras shaking. Yes, I said, loud enough for the world. Then I turned back to Seth. "Because love deserves witnesses, so does cruelty." "What is this?" Seth's face had gone red, his practiced composure cracking. "You wanted everyone here," I said. "Your family, your friends, your audience. Consider this your premiere." I lifted my phone. "Tuesday night I heard everything. About Thea, about how you'd let me spoil you one last time, about how I was useful." Thea flinched. "Wait, what?" Patricia stood, trembling. "Seth Carter, what is she talking about?" He tried to grab my wrist. "Aria, enough!" I stepped back, voice cool as ice. "You recorded me, mocked me, saved those moments like trophies. Now everyone sees the man behind the laugh track." Jaden muttered, "Bro, just sit down." "Don't call me bro," he hissed. "She's making this up." Margot's voice cut through. "Then why did you tell me Aria was perfect for optics?" "I have the messages, Seth." He turned toward her, betrayal flickering. "You went through Through nothing," she snapped. "You sent them to me, remember? When you were drunk." Penn lowered her phone. "Seth, you told us she was fine with the jokes." "I never..." Thea stood up pale. "You said you were single." "Oh, I see how it is," Seth snarled. "You're all saints now." Marcus's camera light blinked softly, catching every angle. I looked at him once, just once, and whispered, "Keep rolling." Seth slammed his hand against the table. "You think humiliating me makes you better?" "No," I said, "it makes me done." Patricia whispered, "I raised you better than this." He laughed bitterly. "Guess you didn't." Thea grabbed her bag and fled, heels clattering down the stairs. Jaden muttered something about damage control and followed. Penn stayed frozen, eyes wet, as if realizing cruelty doesn't sound funny outside the echo chamber. Seth's voice cracked. "You ruined my life." "No," I said softly. "You filmed mine first." I turned toward Kieran. "Thank you." He stood, reached for my hand, Not possessive, just steady, and squeezed once. You're free. The quartet started playing again, unbidden. A waltz, trembling and beautiful in the wreckage. Marcus lowered the camera, face pale. You sure you want me to stop? Yes, I said, we have enough. As I walked away, Seth's voice chased me through the open door. You'll regret this, Arya. I didn't look back. Some echoes deserve to die alone. The morning after the rooftop, the city looked different, sharper, quieter, like it had been freshly washed in truth. I lay in bed staring at the pale stripe of light across my ceiling, the kind that sneaks in uninvited but somehow feels earned. My phone was a graveyard of notifications. Marcus had texted first. Stream hit 40K live before I cut it. You trended for all the right reasons. Call me if you want the footage archived. Then Margot. He's spiraling. You did what the rest of us were too scared to do. Thank you. Then Patricia, her message trembling between lines. Arya, I don't know how to apologize for my son. I'm ashamed. Please don't think we all raised him that way. And finally, Seth. You destroyed me. Hope it was worth it. I didn't reply. There are some conversations that don't need to survive the morning. By noon, the internet had done what it always does. It built a bonfire. Clips from the rooftop leaked, despite Marcus cutting the stream early. Hashtags bloomed like weeds. Hatch the cringe chronicles. Hash rooftop reversal. Hash area deserved better. I watched snippets on mute, my own face framed by string lights, Seth's expression unraveling frame by frame, the crowd gasping as if the air itself had caught fire. Comment sections were a split chorus of sympathy and outrage. Half applauded the queen of calm revenge. The other half accused me of cruelty. What none of them saw was the years before, the slow bleed of someone being reduced to a joke until they stopped recognizing their own tenderness. By the second day, Seth's PR firm dropped him. A quiet statement circulated. We do not condone any form of emotional exploitation or harassment. His creative project partners deleted him from their bios. Thea posted a black square apology captioned, Learning Boundaries. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Jaden and Penn tried damage control on social media, claimed the folder was just friendly banter, that I'd overreacted. Screenshots disproved that within hours. Someone leaked their group chat, memes of my videos, captions like pure comedy gold. For once, I didn't have to defend myself. The world handled that part for me. Margot called that evening. He's moved back with our parents, she said. Patricia made him get a job at the dealership. They cut his cards. Said he has to earn back basic respect. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But empathy doesn't mean reopening a wound. It just means acknowledging it existed. Kieran stopped by my apartment a few nights later. No cameras, no scripts. Just two people who'd once meant something and still did in a quieter way. He brought takeout and cheap wine. You okay? He asked. I don't know yet, I said honestly. I feel clean, empty, but clean. He nodded. That's how it feels after you stop carrying someone else's mess. We sat in silence long enough for the city to hum around us. Then he smiled faintly. You know, the internet thinks we're engaged. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. Let them. It's the only rumor that doesn't hurt anyone. He raised his glass. To truth, then, even when it's messy. To truth, I echoed. In the days that followed, I started deleting the remnants. Old texts, photos, voice notes. But I didn't erase everything. Some videos stayed. Not because I missed him, but because they were proof of who I was before the cynicism set in. A woman who believed love could be honest, even if she'd been wrong about the recipient. One night, I opened my camera roll and played a single clip, the Valentine's video Seth had mocked most. My own voice filled the dark. You make every day brighter. I watched myself speak the words without flinching. That woman wasn't pathetic. She was sincere. And sincerity, I realized, was never cringe. It was courage. Marcus sent me one final message a week later. Deleted the footage at your request. But I kept one still. The moment you turned away from him, the lights behind you, your hand steady, that's your freedom frame. I thanked him. Then I turned off my phone, poured a glass of water, and stood by the window. Below, the city pulsed with 100 tiny lives, each holding secrets, each chasing redemption. For a long time, I thought revenge would feel like victory. It didn't. It felt like release. If anyone ever asked what really happened that night, I'd tell them this. It wasn't about humiliating him. It was about ending the performance. About showing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to forgive. It's to walk away before cruelty convinces you that you deserve it. And somewhere out there, if Seth still checks my socials the way I know he does, I hope he understands. The real punchline wasn't the rooftop, it was thinking love was content. Because love, real love, never needs an audience.